Hello there, Maverick Currency traders. This is Rob Reinhold, and with me is Mr. Ankit Sharma, and this is the Currency Room. And look at that. 2 months are already in the bag for 2024. In this session, we're going to go over what happened this week. We're going to take a look at the currencies. We're going to take a look at commodities. We're going to take a look at everything. And then we're going to throw that all away and say, okay, it's a new day. And I always have to say, if you woke up from a coma, you've been in a coma for 20 years, and the first thing you did was check the market, you would be looking at it with a very, very blank slate. No biases, no anything. That's how you have to look at the market, and that's what we're going to do. Did we get any technical changes? Did anything change? And then we're going to go through every single currency one by one, and we're going to score them from +3 to -3, and we're going to pair up the strongest versus the weakest.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's get ready for next week.
The stock market just will not quit. We broke out to new all-time highs. Look, we had a little pullback earlier in the week, very shallow pullback. And then Thursday, Friday, bounced up, made new all-time highs. And all this is happening while the dollar remains strong, but yields pulling back. That's a really good combination for the whole story of a risk-on asset. You don't want the dollar falling apart because that shows, maybe some issues, but you want yields to stay low. Everything is looking great, and the money is flowing into markets, and it's flowing into almost every market except a few. It's flowing into the stock market. It's flowing into the crypto market. What we don't see it flowing into is it's not really flowing into the currency market. We're not seeing big, huge inflows and pushing things around. We're not really seeing it in the commodity space either. We're not really seeing oil go anywhere. Gold's had a decent run, but not too much. Let's take a look at some of the news events from last week. First one I want to go over is this Aussie CPI. Came in lower than expected. So remember, lower than expected inflation means the central bank doesn't need to raise interest rates. So this actually caused the Aussie to fall a little bit. But then 30 minutes later, we got the RBNZ come out, and they did not raise rates or cut rates as expected, but they were definitely more dovish. So we got both the Australia Central Bank and the New Zealand Central Bank, both with dovish outlooks on rates. Both of those were weak currencies this week. The one I really want to point out was the big news that really got the stock market excited was this core PCE price index. Now the core came in 0.4 as expected, but the headline number came in 0.3 when it was 0.4 that was expected. The market loved this, led to a big rally, and we really saw the rally all throughout the week. So ultimately, what do we have here? Lower inflation, good growth. This is a really good environment for everyone to be really happy and really willing to take some risks. So let's take a look at the numbers last week. When we take a look at the stock market, S&P was up 0.78%. The world index up the same. So again, we had this rally, and most of it came the last 2 days. Look at that number of crypto, 16%. Now this is the crypto basket. There were individual cryptos that were up 30, 40, 50% on the week. This was a very, very strong week. And the reason why, again, everyone asks why. Look, we always like to know why as traders. I remember looking at my screen as a young trader and yelling, why? And my screen never answered me, so I stopped yelling it because it's silly. You don't know why. There's a million different reasons of why. As a trader, you just need to know it's bullish or bearish. Gold had a good week. Oil had a good week. Again, things are just moving higher. Risk on is the name of the game here. Let's take a look at this S&P chart. Now, the S&P chart, you can see we had some resistance here. We spent about 3 or 4 days pulling back, and then we broke out. So the question is, where does this market go? Well, if you draw an upper trend line, you can see that this market probably still has a couple days left to go, before it hits the upper trend line and has another pullback or base. Everything is pointing to bullish on equities. Everything's pulling to bullish on crypto. Look, pretty much everything's bullish right now except for bonds. Let's jump over to the Forex performance. I want to point out these numbers. These are not big numbers for a week. This is a week. Typically, we have multiple currencies that are up +1 or down -1. Again, this just isn't a big number. The only thing that really moved this week was the Kiwi. So Kiwi yen would have been the best trade. I was hunting in Kiwi dollar, had a decent trade, nothing great. But other than that, the Forex market is just not where the action is right now. So where is the action? Well, here is the action. Bitcoin up 20%, Bitcoin Cash. Look, everything went up. Ethereum is the underperformer at 10%. I would hate to have an underperformer be 10%. So the big question is there legs left in the crypto rally? We will take a look at that when we get into the market. We just took a look at the S&P chart. It's clearly at a +3. This is a raging bull market. In a raging bull market, risk assets tend to move higher. Yes, we get pullbacks, we get bases, but risk assets tend to move higher. What we want to look for is signs that that is about over. One of the signs we've talked about is bonds. If bonds get too high, it could put a lid on the stock market. Look what had just happened. We came up to 4.3 in the 10-year, and we're closing at 4.2. This is really bullish. This is really bullish for equities. So there's nothing on bonds that are telling us to think that this rally is going to end. Here we have the rally in crypto. We had a nice base here. We love high bases at Maverick. They're our favorites. And you can see big explosion out of the top of that. Now again, this is the crypto basket. This is a basket of the 4 cryptos that we look at as a whole. And yes, you can see that they are probably overextended. We've got some long upper shadows here the last 3 days. We would expect there to be a base or maybe even a pullback here. But that base and pullback should be bought. Definitely bullish here on crypto. Anka, what's your opinion on crypto? Are you a little bit surprised at this move?
I am not surprised. I think we've seen a run started early this year. We've been basing, but definitely, this is where we say the other markets start to play a catch up. The equity markets, the theme started with the equity markets that they broke out higher, going above the peak that we saw back in 2021. So I think the rally is just broadening. It's just broadening across the other assets. And I think that crypto is the next beneficiary for that one. So I think it's just a market environment that we are in where, things likely to move on from one to the other. And maybe get a currency may play a catch-up too. But I think for now, it seems like the rally in the market is kind of broadening.
Thanks, Anka. And I would agree with you, are we going to see a catch-up in the Forex market? Here's the problem. The risk on assets in the Forex market, the Kiwi, the Aussie, the CAD, they've got problems. There's a reason they're not running, and I don't see those problems changing. So I'm a little skeptical that we're going to see that catch up, which I know you're skeptical too about. It just doesn't look like those currencies want to rally here. So it's going to be probably fairly flat in the currency market. That being said, we always love these weeks. First week of the month always is just full of dynamite, full of lots of big reports that hopefully will move this market somewhere. Let's start off with the first one, Aussie GDP. Now we just got lower than expected CPI. If this Aussie GDP comes in at 0.3, even at 0.4, it's not really going to do anything. Remember, their inflation is falling, so there's no reason for the RBA to aggressively raise interest rates. But what if this GDP comes out at 0.6? All of a sudden, people are going to rethink, oh wait, if 0.6 inflation's coming, let's look at Aussie dollar again. So I think this is a first tradable news event you can take a look at, but I don't think it's a very good one. I think if you want to take a look at something, we've got Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada rate statement here. So this one here, are they going to get more hawkish? That is the question. Things are really good. Inflation is coming down, but Canada is one of the countries that saw inflation tick up a little bit lately. We do have it used to be called the Humphrey Hawkins, but this is now just called Fed Chair Powell testifies. Both houses of Congress, it's usually not all that big a policy. So I think you can ignore that. But we cannot ignore the ECB. Is the ECB going to back off of its hawkishness? I don't think they are. I think they're looking around. Everything's booming again. I think they are going to stay hawkish or get hawkish. I actually kind of like the euro here going into this week on the long side. And then on Friday, we get employment reports out of the US and Canada. We will be meeting live as a firm to trade this live. So if you can join us live, you guys know what to do. Go register for it. And we'll be making some trades live here during those announcements. So I'm not real excited about Forex. I like crypto here, but crypto's got to do a little pullback or base. What I am excited about is it's the first week of the month and we get lots of information that could actually push this market to become more volatile. So this week we got two central banks. We got Bank of Canada and ECB, and then we've got the employment reports on Friday. So let's go ahead and look at each individual currency and score it on both the trend score and the velocity score. Would having more trading capital help you meet your trading goals? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop firm. We fund traders just like you with 5- and 6-figure accounts where you keep 70 to 80% of profits. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to start the process. This will take you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position, and you can read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have. After that, if you're interested, fill out an application, and then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video and schedule an interview with our recruiters. Are you our next trader? Now, to break this down, if you don't know, the trend score is basically a longer-term view. Where is this going over the longer term? The velocity score is, hey, where's it going right now? What's the energy right here, right now? So obviously, if we want to be long something, we want something with a +3 and a +3, or a +2 and a +3. Something that's got a lot of momentum, where it's not just a short-term little move, it's got some trends behind it. As you can see here, Bitcoin is at a +3 and a 0. And as we talked about, we are hitting some levels here. We got that red candle, and then we got this inside candle on Friday. Bases or pullbacks are highly likely here in the cryptos. So Bitcoin was the first. It was the first one to take off, and then all the rest started to take off. I think you're going to see the same thing happen with Bitcoin. It's going to be the first need to take a pause, and the rest of them may have a little bit of gas left in them. So here we have Bitcoin Cash. And you can see we broke out above this resistance line. We got some long upper shadows, but this one still is climbing. I don't love these long upper shadows, but I think there still might be a day or two left in a rally in Bitcoin Cash. Ethereum, this one also kind of looks like Bitcoin, where we got that red candle, we got those upper shadows, we got this inside candle on Friday. This one's likely going to need to take a break. And then when I did the video on Wednesday, I said I liked Litecoin the best. Why did I like Litecoin the best? Because it was just breaking out. It was just breaking out, and you can see it's had a big run. If you're going to look at trading crypto, this is the one I believe was still the most upside potential because it just started its breakout and run. Now look, it's probably a couple days away from that, getting so tired that it falls back on itself. But I think we still have a couple days here left on Litecoin. So when you take a look at the cryptos, I still like Litecoin the best, but I think the window for being bullish Litecoin is just a couple more days. And then I think you've got to wait for everything to pause, to base, to pull back before you can get excited about it. Okay, can you take us through the Forex market?
Absolutely. Let's start with the US dollar. Well, one of the things to take a look at the dollar is that it's not really breaking out higher or lower. So this is one of the reasons why, even though it's a bullish currency, it's just not falling as much. So I still like it up on the longer side versus the lower side. With the prior support is still remains. So the support is still there. So we are above the 20 to 50. I think this is most likely going sideways to higher. We have to break key levels to really break the dollar lower. Maybe next week we get some more movement off the economic data, but I think the dollar sideways to higher, that's really where the dollar has been moving for the last 2 months. Now, on the yen, it's an opposite scenario because in the yen, we have been sitting at a -3 for the long time. For the last 2 months, every rally's been sold. Now, the question is this the rally to short into? Well, right now, we are seeing a bit of a pullback here. If we can break above this prior green candle, we can say that maybe there's more follow through to the upside. But at this point, the right trade on the yen has been on selling the rally. So I still like yen to the short side. Until Bank of Japan does make any change, I think this is going to be running on some speculation. They're going to make a change, and they don't end up making a change. And yen is just a good currency to be on the short side. So nothing really has changed for me. I think in the shorter term, it's having a bear rally, but in the longer term, still going down. Now, same sort of scenario kind of playing out with the Swiss franc as well. Remember, Swiss franc was or has been the best currency for the last year or so. As you can see that this thing is now rallies are being sold. So I like that price action. We got that rally on the 26, 27, 28, and right there, look at the bearish engulfing candle that's now bringing it back as lower. So I still like Swiss franc on the downside. Early next week, we have these CPI numbers from Switzerland as well. But again, I think overall, this is a currency that has more downside risk. So I still want to be on the downside camp for the Swiss franc as well as the yen. So nothing changes there. Now, on the contrarian side, we have other European currencies that are doing better. The euro, you can take a look at it, is slowly, steadily moving higher. So even though we're getting some pullbacks in between, those pullbacks are just good buying opportunities. So I still like euro onto the upside, and I still like that euro Swiss franc trade that's been slowly chipping higher. But overall, nothing has changed over for euro as well. And we talked about British pound last week and how beautiful that high base is making. And look at that. It's just right there with the resistance. So I still like this on the upside as well. Right now, euro and pound are kind of doing a very similar thing. Velocity to the upside is sideways. Again, not getting a whole lot of shocks. So we're getting a run, then we get a consolidation. We get a run, and we get a consolidation. That's the kind of price action we are in. I love the fact that we are in a 2-month consolidation phase in the British pound, so I think the next move likely to be higher. So I still have this currency on the long list for myself. I just need to get that confirmation for a breakout above that resistance. Now, looking at the other currencies like the Canadian dollar, which is now, it was a good currency early part of the year, and now it's going sideways. And I talked about how if you take a look at the dollar and take a look at the CAD, there are times where they're doing the same thing, and sometimes the CAD is more leading and the dollar is lagging. I think now we are in the situation where, the CAD is lagging more than the USD. We got the inflation prints from Canada. The numbers were weak. So that's really putting the pressure on Bank of Canada for maybe they want to cut rate first compared to the others. So I think that's really where we are at. It's not really catching the proxy trade. So if I want to be short, I think that is the trade I'll be looking at. Break below that support, below that 50 moving average to the short side. So this trade is building up, but next week we have the Bank of Canada rate statement, and I think this is right there as far as the catalyst goes to break below the support. Now, taking a look at other growth currencies, so we are seeing some shift. So we talked about how the Aussie and the Kiwi has been sort of, diverging from each other. We've seen the Aussie not taking part in a lot of move, and the Kiwi has been doing well. And now we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing the Aussie start to catch up a little bit here. So we were sitting at, a -1 trend score, and now we're catching up to a zero trade here. But I think this can easily break out higher next week. Again, looking for that catch-up trade, especially between the Aussie and the Kiwi. The velocity is picking up. So we don't have a full clear yet, but as soon as we get above that 50-day moving average, I like it more for the upside. And now if you take a look at the Kiwi chart, you'll see why. Because look at that, the change there. Kiwi was sitting, had a nice run from February till March, and the RBNC really killed it. So I think this is where it's a good opportunity to even take a look at sort of a change between the Aussie and Kiwi. I think the Aussie likely to outperform compared to the Kiwi. And if we take a look at the Aussie-Kiwi pairing, we're seeing the similar thing here as well. So the trend score, this is a big trend change in the trend score was in the Kiwi. We were sitting at a +2, and now we're sitting at a -1. I think we want to continue looking for further downside in the Kiwi.
Thanks, Ankit. And I'm with you. I love the Swiss franc and the yen to go short. The problem is there's nothing showing strength other than that euro. And that's why I said I like the euro the best. For me, I'm looking, euro yen, euro Swiss franc. But the question is, where's the momentum right now? And right here, right now, take a look at where the momentum is. It's all in the cryptos. Everything's in the cryptos as far as the momentum goes. I'm waiting for that euro to get a little stronger and looking for that yen and Swiss franc cross. So for me, going into this week, I'm looking at Litecoin and I'm looking at euro yen and euro Swiss franc on the crosses. So let's go in and take a look at those exact charts. Let's take a look at possible entry points and talk about the trades. Let's focus on that Litecoin chart again. It's had a big run. I know that it's very difficult. I remember as a younger trader, very difficult to take trades that have run so much. What you need to understand, though, is when there's been this period of consolidation, we've consolidated all the way since October. These moves can be really big if you have a long period of consolidation. So up here at 84, if you want to take a look again at some shorter term charts to get a better entry point, I think that's what you need to do. You need to go down to like the 4 hour, the 1 hour and be like, okay, I know we're elevated. I want to get really good entries. Anytime you get a pullback, like right in here would be a great time, right in here. Anytime you get pullbacks, I think you want to be looking at this Litecoin on a trade. But as I said earlier, it probably has 2, 3, 4 more days left in it. So be aware that I think this one needs to be a shorter term trade than most of the ones that you look at. So getting in Litecoin on any sort of like pullback or base, I think is the right trade. My favorite trade. Now again, I go back and forth over what is better, the yen or the Swiss franc. So let's go and actually just put in Swiss franc yen. If we put that in, you can see that over the past couple months, it's been really the same. They've both been weak and they've both been weak the same amount. But if we break below this 169.30 level, it's going to tell you that the Swiss franc is now weaker than the yen. And really on a short-term basis, you would have to take a look at this and say, right now the Swiss franc is weaker than the yen, which means I want to pair up euro against Swiss franc early in the week. We got a nice little high base that broke out. We're getting a little bit of an upper shadow here, so we're getting a little bit of a pullback off this breakout. This happens a lot of times. You get the breakout, everyone gets excited, it expends a whole bunch of energy, and then there's not enough people behind it and it comes back down. What was resistance should become support. So right here at 95.50, 95.50 to 95.60, somewhere in this area, to me, that's where it has to stop going lower. We need to get a reversal candle, and then we need to get a green candle. That is the entry on Euro Swiss franc. Like I said, I like this pair, but right now, the euro is showing a little bit of weakness on the velocity, on just the short-term move. I need that euro to pick back up. Once it does, then I'll be ready for it. Or you could also look at euro yen. Let's take a look at a euro yen on the daily. You can see that this trade is actually a little bit more mature, I guess I would say. We're right here on Swiss franc against the euro, but we already broke out. We already lost some momentum, came back down to what was resistance, should be support. Yeah, we're right there. So I actually like this trade a little bit better because I think it's a little bit further along. I'm just waiting for, some decent momentum to come into this. Right now, we've got nothing going on RSI. We got nothing going on the moving average. I'm just waiting for a little bit of momentum to come into this. But this is my favorite trade for the week in Forex. Okay, what do you want to take a look at?
Well, I have few pairs that I'm taking a look at that I want to go long. But again, I want to just remind everyone that the whole idea for my setups are going to be setups for next week around the news events. Looking at different case scenarios. So I like the Aussie CAD. Again, I'm going for CAD weakness next week, especially with the Bank Canada restatement. And you can see that this thing is right at the teeter of breaking out. It's not broken out completely yet, but again, it's just slowly picking up. Look at the negative momentum this has been in. And I like the fact that it's breaking out, and this will be something I will be looking for a further breakout, especially above the 88.70 area. If this can get above that, I think this can easily make a run towards that 90 area. I think this is the one that's been lagging, but I think I'm looking for a little catch-up trade here. So that's the first one. I also like the Aussie Swiss franc, again, going for the Swiss franc pairings. I mean, same thing, this thing has been in the negative momentum, but then you can see that it's slowly coming up. So if there's a bit of a trade to have here, I mean, we need to get above that 58 area. If that breaks out that area, I think this has a little bit more further upside towards the 59 area. Just realize that, the ranges are small, and I think that's what I'm noticing with the cross board. The ranges are just small. So I think what we need to look for is actual breakouts from these areas, and I think that's really where we're going to find some good runners. But yeah, it's really important to kind of know what's moving because we're not seeing a broader move. Aussie, as you can see, Aussie against the Kiwi. You can see how Aussie's now taking a bit of a lead, and you can see we were making nice lows, and now we're just trying to come up here. So if we can continue moving higher in the Aussie Kiwi, I think I'm going to favor Aussie over the Kiwi because, again, the last few weeks has been favoring the Kiwi. So I'm just flipping the trade and going for some of the Aussie pairs. And that's why Aussie Swiss franc, Aussie CAD. On the other hand, I'm not really going after too many dollar pairs. And I think I want to just highlight that dollar is not a great, if you look at the dollar, just a currency basket, it's not really moving significantly higher or lower. And I know a lot of traders are trying to capture a move in the dollar. But again, this is more like a sideways play. It's not getting you a whole lot of confirmation. So anything that is at a zero on a, sort of a sideways trade, you want to be in a day or two trade. We don't have a trend to follow. So these moves are good, but they're shorter. So you got to understand that that's the kind of movement that we're getting with the dollar. But outside of that, when things are actually turning the trend, I think that's something that we want to get behind. I know the British pound is the one that I'm also looking at next week as well. It's right at the resistance. So we're getting the same thing, pound against the Kiwi. Let's throw some pairings out that might be just around the breakout here. So I think those are the ones that I will start to look forward to. Right above the resistance area to break out. But my whole premise next week will be around the news events. I'm very open to make adjustments accordingly. That's really the game plan. Looking to be active. That's really where the movements have been.
So at the end, we've got strong euro, strong pound. I like euro number 1. We've got weak Swiss franc, yen, and Kiwi. For me, I do like that yen still, but I do like that Swiss franc. So I like both of those quite a bit. We should have a good action-packed week. Join us on Friday for the live trading session if you can. Everyone have a great weekend. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.